Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, and our dear friend Laith Marouf from Beirut is back with us. Welcome back, Laith.
Great to be with you, Nima. Thank you for having me.
And please go to freepalestine.video and go there and support what Laith is doing. Is huge what he's doing there. And he's reporting on the field, going and seeing and reporting what's going on in Lebanon, in southern part of Lebanon. There are reporters out of Lebanon as well. Laith, isn't that the case?
Yes, we are doing work all around Lebanon, and we had a team in the West Bank. We had to now stop the production for a while because the lives of everybody was getting dangerous for them. It's even more dangerous than production for us here. So we're trying to figure out a way we can produce content from the West Bank again without risking everybody's life there.
Yeah. Please subscribe and hit the like button, helping the video reaching more people. Laith, what has happened in with the Israeli attack with the Israeli attack on Qatar was somehow nobody was expecting that. And what is the implication? What are the outcomes of the political outcome, the geopolitical outcomes of what has happened in Qatar?
Well, we saw the statements from Qatar and then from Saudi Arabia and then from Jordan, all countries that the Israeli jets had to fly over to attack Qatar, all of them condemning this and saying something has to be done. But remember, for sure, the air defenses of Jordan, the air defenses of the Saudi kingdom, and Qatar all had seen these jets coming. The United States also has one of its biggest radar installations on the planet in the south of Palestine, in the Naqab Desert. So the movement of these jets was traced throughout the whole way. So for Qatar to pretend that it didn't know that this attack was happening, or the Saudis or Jordanians or the United States even, claiming that it didn't know this attack was happening, it's a real joke. I mean, look, the British and American refueling jets flew out of Al Udeid, the American base in Qatar, and refueled those Israeli jets as they were bombing Qatar and as they were returning from the bombing of Qatar, and then landed back again in Al Udeid. And we know that the Qatari air defenses were supposedly used to shoot down Iranian missiles directed at Al Udeid base. So where were those Qatari air defenses, the Saudi air defenses, Jordanian air defenses, and the American air defenses that are in Qatar? This is only if we're childish would believe that these states were not in on this attack. And remember, Trump invited the leadership of Hamas to negotiate on his new proposal in Doha, Qatar. They came because they were told to come to negotiate a ceasefire. And what happens? Supposedly Israel attacks without telling anybody. I mean, come on. So it's not, for me, this is all theatrics. But what this shows us is that, on the one hand, it means that the leadership of the Palestinian resistance in Gaza has yet to sell out or to surrender. And this is why every time there is some leadership that comes out from Hamas and other, the Palestinian Jihad and others that are in this bloc, are assassinated and a new one comes in, it's the same outcome. So this tells us this means the leadership of Hamas was not going to surrender. The United States wanted them out of the way. And now, with the killing of Ismail Haniyeh before this, and the leadership of Hamas in Lebanon and in Syria and what have you, this means there's a detachment between the resistance leadership inside Gaza right now that is living an invasion of Gaza City. There's now a disconnect of what is happening outside the world to what is happening on the ground. And this means that the Americans and the Israelis have decided they want to fight this till the end. And there will be only a one winner in this. There will be no end to the genocide that we are watching now in Gaza, except by either the total killing of the Palestinians and or the retreat of the West. And this is a choice that was made by Trump and the Israelis.
As you mentioned, I think there is no doubt that the United States knew about, and they said that they knew about the attack. And what's so interesting that they attacked the room, the negotiations room, that they thought, and they left behind all those phones in that room. That's why they attacked, and they thought that all of them are in that room that they attacked, that they bombed it. It seems that the whole building was evacuated before the Hamas leaders evacuated the building before the attack happened. It seems in the final moment. What we don't know what has happened, but Leith, the Israeli ambassador to the United States, and we had not only him on Fox News, we had Naftali Bennett as well. They're talking about they're going to attack Hamas leaders and anybody who tries to go against Israelis in each and every country in the Middle East. They don't care which country that is. And what is that message, in your opinion, to those people in the region who were supporting, who were cooperating, who were facilitating the process that the United States is behind and is trying to do based on their agenda?
Yeah, look, the Israelis are clear about what they want, and on the one hand, we have the Western elite who have given in and have subjugated their own citizens and have told their own citizens by law, the Jewish supremacists are better than you and have more protections. And your taxes will be spent on the Jewish supremacy project in the colony. That your jobs and your reputation and even jail time will be put for you as a citizen if you do not submit to saying that you are less than. This is what the Western elite have done now to their own citizens. Unheard of in human history that a elite of a civilization tell their own population that they are less than somebody else. Okay, so that's done. Now what is in front of us is that the rest of the world is being demanded to submit also, to say that there is a chosen people. The elite of the West agreed that there's a chosen people, and those chosen people have the right to genocide, kill, steal, loot, rape on live television. That's what the Western elite are telling us. So the rest of humanity is now being put in front of this choice. You submit or you will be killed. And the Palestinian people, the Lebanese people, the Iranian people, the Yemeni people, the Iraqi people, the people in the region here are refusing to submit, that there's somebody who is chosen and above them. So I think, look at what happened just after even the attack on the offices of Hamas in Doha. By the way, God's hand actually saved the leadership of Hamas in Doha, because they stepped out of the meeting room, leaving their phones to pray, because it was the Asr prayer. And those who stayed in the room were their assistants and guards who got killed. Okay, so after this assassination, hours after today, the Israelis attacked the headquarters of one of the largest newspapers in Sana'a, Yemen, killing and injuring tens of journalists in broad daylight. So now they're telling us they can kill journalists anywhere they want to, and they can kill anyone who opposes them anywhere until somebody stands in their way. It's clear to me, at least, the monarchies that rule the Arabic world, who have been installed by the French and the English and protected by the Americans since their existence, will not fight back. But yes, this is unheard of because it's the first time the Israelis attack any of these Gulf states in 80 years of Arabic Zionist conflict. Yes, it is significant, but we can also study history and see how when there is a resistance, collaborating segments like the Qataris and the Saudis and so forth are significant, are important to the colonizer. But once the resistance is weak and defeated in their mind, as in the situation of the Zionists thinking now, well, they can genocide all the Palestinians and nobody's going to stop them. They can do that in Syria and Lebanon if they want to also, and nobody will stop them. This is what they've come to the belief. There's no use for the collaborator, the agent, the house slave. You get rid of him because the colonizer doesn't even respect the collaborator. Actually, you can read every colonizer what they wrote about the collaborating class with them. They hated them more than any part of the indigenous people they colonized because they saw them as so low that they sell their own people. And that's how the Israelis look at the Qataris and the Saudis and the Emiratis, that they have sold their own people. They have so much money and so much influence on the world if they want to, that they can liberate Palestine easily. But they're so treacherous to their own people that they give out their own wealth and their own strength to the Zionists. And that's why they don't need them. They don't need them, and they'll be slapped around as happened in Qatar.
I think what's going on in the mind of the Arab states is so much important. So let's put it this way. If tomorrow Israel attacks Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, name it, and what can they do? What do they have to respond? What is the the policy in the response, in their response, in this sort of attitude to respond to what has happened if something happens in that direction? Here is the question: is that gonna convince them that the resistance is the only reason that they can somehow, that would be the only the only barrier, the only obstacle against Israel and what they're seeking in the region? When this reality gonna hit them? When they're gonna learn? Because tomorrow they're gonna attack any of these countries, and these toys that they bought from the United States, I don't know if they know how to use them. I don't know if there is a strategy, there is an army there in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in UAE, call it Bahrain. How do
Yeah.
they feel about it? Because it's gonna come. The moment it's gonna, sooner or later, they're gonna be attacked.
A few days ago, I watched a video of a convoy of armed militia, Saudi militia, driving from Jordan into South Syria to blockade Suwaida and give, military aid to the government of Al-Julani. So you had these militias driving from Saudi through Jordan to Syria. Palestine was on the way, right? But where does these militiamen go? They go to help in the subjugation of the Syrian people. And the elite class in these countries that have been bred by the West, they know their job. So no, I don't think. I think, look, this elite will be as willing as Hosni Mubarak of Egypt or Zain al-Abidin bin Ali of Tunis, who were both house slaves, vassals of the West, and the West, Obama and Qatar with Al Jazeera, used them as a beginning of the Arab quote unquote spring, replaced them with other vassals, just as and ripped up their whole countries just to be able to infect the Arabic Spring into Libya and into Syria and into Yemen. That was they didn't need to really change the guard in Egypt or Tunis, who were already vassals. They just did it on purpose to reach the real targets. So where did the president of Tunis go? Did he fight? When the time came and the West, his own master, was going to take him and put another goon in his place just to pretend that there's some democratic movement happening in the Arabic world. Did he fight back? He didn't. He just got on a plane and went to Saudi with all the money of Tunis, and nobody cares about him anymore. What happened to Mubarak? Did he fight back? He didn't. Again, he was allowed to go out with his money and so on. And this Saud family and the Nahyan family and the Hashemites, when the time comes, when the Israeli says, hey, I'm going to finish the job of greater Israel, they will just gladly grab their money bags and go to some foreign capital that already is there for them.
Leith, Lebanon is somehow facing the same sort of problem, in my opinion, with the case of, because what has happened in Qatar would have consequences for the government in Lebanon that is trying to put pressure on Hezbollah to disarm. And so without Hezbollah, without their power, their military power, political power, how they're going to respond to Israel if Israel attacks again in the southern part of Lebanon? What sort of guarantees are they trying to put on the table? What sort of reasons are they making for their argument?
Yeah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sheikh Naim Qasim, just spoke earlier today, and in it addressed a lot of these things. And the number one thing that he made clear is that Hezbollah will not be handing over any weapons under any conditions, and is willing to fight till the last man for that. And so it's done. That's not going to happen. We also saw earlier in the week when the government passed this plan to disarm Hezbollah, that it didn't have quorum, that a big number of ministers refused to come and since then also resigned, and that there was a huge change between the first proposal put by Prime Minister Nawaf Salam and what was voted on this time, which had stages, and in those stages is the acceptance and creation of a national defense strategy, meaning making and creating a military that is capable of defending the country. So that's a thing that's not going to happen. The West is not going to let Lebanon have a military that's capable of defending itself. Therefore, there will be no disarmament of Hezbollah. Another thing that Sheikh Naim al-Qasim said in his speech, and that was directed, I think, in his speech to the government of Lebanon and the Lebanese population, is that Lindsey Graham, when he was here in Beirut, said that don't ask me about what Israel will do or not do until you disarm Hezbollah. And when we disarm Hezbollah, then we'll find out what Israel wants to do. So point is that there's no guarantees for anything, right? And the United States itself is not guaranteeing anything. It's saying that if you disarm, we can't guarantee anything. But we know that if you don't disarm, that Israel is going to bomb you. Okay, this is what is being put on the table. And obviously, Hezbollah is not going to disarm. The other thing is that he directed some of his speech towards the Gulf countries. And he's definitely more diplomatic than I am, and more conciliatory than I would be. But he said that these states, if they want to defend themselves without even fighting, all they need to do is support the resistance in Palestine and in Lebanon, and that will be sufficient enough to liberate Palestine. Just supporting those who are resisting. And if they can't do that, and or launch their own defense actions, then at least don't stab the resistance in the back. Now, are they gonna stop a habit that they've accumulated over a century as regimes? I'm more of unforgiving on these levels. I can see patterns of states, not only individuals, obviously. So we don't personify the realities of things. And I don't think the Israelis will be attacking anytime soon. There was a window over the last 2 weeks that was much more dangerous. I think right now, given that there has been surveys of the Lebanese population, multiple ones, including ones that are made by imperialist think tanks, that showed that 96% of the Shia in Lebanon are against the disarmament. 60% of the Sunnis are against this disarmament, and 48% of the Christians are against the disarmament of Hezbollah. So we have a clear majority in the country. More than 65% of the population is against the disarmament. So this is a cross-sect position, and the state and anyone who wants to plot against Hezbollah right now doesn't have the street on their side. The U.S., if it wants Hezbollah disarmed and or the Zionists want that, they're going to have to fight it themselves.
Are they seeking the same sort of model that they have in Syria, in Lebanon? Because Syria doesn't have anything right now as we talk. No air defense system, no military, nothing. Just a group of people coming together and different factions coming together, which I don't know if they obey al-Jolani or they do whatever they have in their mind in order to the way that they're behaving. After all, do you see the same sort of strategy when it comes to Lebanon?
I think the Syrian model, they've attempted to create that here right after the fall of the Assad government. The elite units of HTS, the red bandanas, tried to invade the north of Lebanon and were resoundingly thrashed by the tribes and the clans in the north of Lebanon without immediate and direct Hezbollah even involvement. And they needed the air cover of Israeli jets to even withdraw from ambushes that they were surrounded. They were going to be totally minced, the red bandanas, by these tribesmen in the north of Lebanon. So there's no possibility of using these Wahhabi death squads to invade Lebanon at this moment. And they are too busy inside Syria, and the country is not, they're not even under control of anything. They're arguably a little bit poorer even than they were before taking over Damascus. So I don't think they're ready to fight that. The Israelis, up until now, have been following this pattern of bombardment from air constantly, just to not allow the country to have a resting moment, Lebanon. And part of this psychological warfare, and to make people feel frustrated that there's no change. It's been 9 months since the ceasefire came into effect. So this is their main strategy, and in hopes that that will destabilize the base of support for resistance, that will strengthen the collaborators with the West to take over the country. That was their whole strategy, and it didn't work out. And the longer this takes, the faster there is either rebuilding in the country, and or the faster it is for Hezbollah to rebuild its weapons and structures, which I think is totally complete right now, their weapons and structures rebuilding. So it's not possible. I think the Israelis may take an adventure and attack Lebanon beyond just from the air, because of how frustrated they are that their other plots are not working.
Laith, here is what the Israeli ambassador to the United States said in the aftermath of the attack.
Terrorists are on notice. They are going to be eliminated.
Mr. Ambassador, understand that and the history. Obviously, Israel is under attack constantly. In this case, Qatar officials and Hamas leadership is saying that you did not get the targets you were seeking. They are obviously condemning this attack as attacking inside an allied country to the U.S. The U.S. here at the White House expressing concern that it did not advance the goals of the U.S. or Israel. And you have the Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia, with very pointed statements in condemnation. So did you get the targets you were seeking?
If we didn't get them this time, we'll get them the next time. Israel under Prime Minister Netanyahu is changing the face of the Middle East. We didn't
get them this time. They're going to be a next time, and they're talking about it. They're going to attack again, Qatar, and to assassinate the leaders of Hamas. But what he said is somehow amazing to me, that Israel has changed the face of the Middle East. Do you see, despite having this genocide and starvation going on in Gaza, do you see Israel winning strategically, militarily, when it comes to, even with the case of Gaza? They couldn't defeat Hezbollah, they couldn't defeat Hamas. They were defeated in the southern part of Lebanon on the ground. And I don't see what's happening in Syria would benefit them in a long run, because we can argue that Erdogan is phony and the government in Turkey is not doing in the way that they're arguing, they're condemning Israel. They're not doing their job to put pressure on Israel. But there is nothing good happening between the two countries in Syria. Let's put it this way. And with the case of Iran, with the case of Yemen, they attacked and killed people in both countries, important people. But so what's the gain strategically for Israel?
Well, again, the only thing that they see is that they are actually setting the norm, and that there is nobody that is stopping them. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Like the guy looks very high on this assassination attempt. He sees it as his God-given power, and he's going to reshape whole regions and peoples to his will. And as long as the Turks or the Qataris or what have you just talk, what does that matter to him? It doesn't matter to the Israelis how much talk there is. And they are really high on this idea that they are a chosen people. And the West has accepted that. Much of these quote-unquote Abrahamic states are really accepting that. Anyone that accepts the existence of the Zionist colony really is saying, yes, there is a chosen people, and I'm not one of them. Please forgive me, chosen people. That's what it means. Okay. Does Turkey acknowledge the existence of Israel? Yes. Does Turkey has trade with Israel? Yes. So Turkey then acknowledges that they are less than. Erdogan is telling his own population that there's a chosen people and you're not those chosen people. Yeah, they can kill anyone they want to anywhere with the support of the West. It's not the crazy thing about Jewish supremacy and all this, leaders of Israel, the way they talk, that we can get you anywhere you want, is that really they're just puny cockroaches themselves that cannot survive in our region without the non-stop supply by the West. If for one day the West stops giving them all the weapons and money and media coverage, for one day, they'll collapse. There's nothing powerful about Israel. There's nothing scientifically advanced more than other people. They're not smarter. They're not more cunning. There's nothing about them. It's just they have non-ending supply of resources by the West given to them at the disadvantage of the population of the West to achieve goals that the West doesn't have time to do. Who has time to spend 15 years to create a supply for pagers that is contaminated with explosives in order to commit the war crime of the pager terrorist attack on Hezbollah? Even the United States doesn't have time to waste 15 years to set up such a chain of production in order to reach Hezbollah. That shows you how much there is money and support from the West that is unlimited. So Israel will cease to exist if the West stops its support for one day.
I think as time goes by, looking at Israel, Laith, to be honest, today and what it was before October 7th, 2023, many people thought that Israel is somehow so advanced, their military is so capable, they're so powerful, but everything is just coming down, everything is just collapsing before our eyes. This is what really this is the reality of what's going on in Israel. And their economy, as you've mentioned, is not doing great without the help coming from the United States. This is the reality that they're facing in the Middle East. Even those people that you've mentioned in the Arab states, they cannot ignore the reality of what's going on in Israel. Turkey knows that. UAE knows that. Iran knows what's going on. Yemen, they're not going to back down with the assassination of the prime minister and his cabinet. So, considering all of these things, do you think as time goes by and the international community doesn't seem to care about what's going on in Gaza, what is the duty for all these countries who are somehow grasping the reality for what's going on in Gaza? Because let's be honest, whatever is happening in the region is totally connected with what's going on in Gaza, in Palestine, in the West Bank. They cannot even let Mahmoud Abbas, which is totally in their pocket, to go to the United Nations. So how there has to be some sort of alternative. What is the mindset of resistance considering that?
Well, I think Yemen is definitely doing a great job showing how the rest of the world can resist, even with such little resources that the country has. We saw over the last week multiple attacks on the Ramon airport, documented even from phones of people in the airport as the missiles and the drones arrived. They've hit Ben Gurion Airport, they've hit military offices in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv with hypersonic missiles that have multi-warheads, fragmenting multi-warheads. So, Yemen is doing a great job. And this is why the Israelis are really vicious. For instance, how they attacked that newspaper offices today in Sana'a, killing tens of journalists and injuring many. This is how Israel responds to the capabilities of Yemen. And, if the resistance here continues as it is, I don't know how much the US and the West can sustain this. But look, everyone around the world needs to understand that your life at this moment, whether you're an American or European or Canadian or Brazilian, is worthless as the Palestinian life. This is what the Israelis and the Western elite have set as a standard. There's no more international law, there's no human rights, there's no journalism rights, there's no medical rights, there's no rights, period. Children's rights, women's rights, none of that exists. And it's a law of the jungle. So those who are watching anywhere in the world need to move not only to end the genocide in Gaza, is to protect yourself from the genocide that's going to come to you. This is what's happening. The reality is life is worthless at this moment, and there is no protections for life. Okay, and in fact, the elite in the West are telling us life is the problem. Populations, we need to cull them. Consumption, we need to stop it. Marriage and family, we need to end it. Okay. So what people need to do is as important as what states need to do. Russia and China could do much, much more, obviously. And the weight that China specifically has economically now can be thrown around. I want the Chinese dragon to ruffle some feathers a little bit. Trade could be used. These new rising blocks, whether it's BRICS or the Organization of Security in Asia, should be actually speaking more forcefully, using their trade power, using their military power to aid in the end of this genocide. Because, look, the United States is so emboldened by committing this genocide. The United States is the one committing it in Gaza, because there's no such thing as Israel, really, without the US. They're so emboldened that they changed the name of their Ministry of Defense from the Department of Defense to the War Department. The United States is sending fleets of ships to besiege and threaten Venezuela right now. So the US is now so emboldened that it's telling us it is back to full imperial garb, and openly, as Israel is openly committing genocide, the United States also will make America great again by committing its own genocides. And if China and Russia continue not taking the situation in West Asia as serious as they should, it'll be too late. Venezuela will be gone. Cuba, who knows next? Bolivia already fell to the neoliberals. How many countries will be left if China and Russia don't move more forcefully?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with you that the only alternative, because the United States is not going to basically, we had the Joe Biden administration right now, the Trump administration, nothing going to come out of these administration in the United States. The only opportunity, the only alternative would be Russia and China and maybe Turkey getting out of these sort of stupid decisions and being more rational would help the whole process together with Iran. Because after all, Laith, to be honest, I don't see anything coming out of the Arab states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain. I'm not talking about the people. These people are very rational people. They know what they want. They try to do their best to send their messages to the governments. But after all, the government is deciding about everything. That's why, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, definitely. Look, there has to be more rebellions happening. People in the West need to rebel, as they have done in previous generations. Things have to get serious for the Western elite to stop the march to World War, as we see on the borders of Poland and Belarus and Russia. They're lining up their troops. The United States is lining up on the borders of Venezuela, and the killing fields keep on expanding in West Asia. People in the West need to rebel, take things more serious, because you will be next. And of course, people in Turkey also will suffer. Everybody is going to suffer as long as there's this supremacist colony in our hearts here, and the world is in this limbo of no international law, no international agencies. A new world must be born, and that cannot happen without all of us working towards it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Laith, for being with us today. Great pleasure, as
Thank you.
always. See you soon. Bye-bye.